Get ready and set. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back after a couple of week hiatus. Last week was my fault. I was the one who was not feeling very well, and the council was gracious enough to give me a day off, and so I thank you guys for being patient. And yeah, it's a good thing we did or not take a week off because apparently everything's falling apart. Welcome to the Council of St. Michael. Myself and Trad and Joey are happy to have you guys with us. Our good friend, the Catholic Preppers, is off with his Catholic land movement friends doing some Catholic land movement stuff, and we wish that the best and all of that, and that's fantastic. Anyway, Trad, how are you, my friend? We missed you the previous show.
Yeah, I think whatever was going around got me a couple weeks back, but I'm back. My throat is better, feeling much better. I think everything traveled through the household as it usually does. So we're all good here on the home front. But no, couldn't be happier to be here.
Joey is just returned from some holiday, not holiday. See, I did it this week. I got mad at you 2 weeks ago. I did it. Some Christmas festivities. How are you, bud?
I'm doing good. Honestly, I could use the little bit of time we had off with the podcast with my son and everything he's going through. So it was a welcome break.
Yeah. Yeah, this time of year, especially everything. Just talking to my wife about that this week, especially for people who work in the corporate world, whatever job you have, it's kind of like that last push week, and everything just kind of falls. And there's so much stress between having to go to different choir practices and company parties, and just the stress of, oh, what are we doing for the Christmas break? And this week it's a big week for a lot of people as far as like stress through the roof. And so, yeah, hopefully you are avoiding such stress out there. We got a couple topics to cover tonight. Obviously, the focus of tonight's show is going to be the dual tragedy that took place this weekend, and really highlighting the fact that you are your own first responder. There's two ways people are going. You can go the Australian route, and Joey and Trad will talk about that when we talk about the Bondi Beach, which is to govern me harder. We'll just gun control harder next time. And then there's the people who are just finally going, yeah, I need a gun. Yeah, I need to take this stuff a little more seriously now, because the bifurcation seems to be at an all-time high between the tensions between the parties. Just human nature seems to be falling apart with the uncertainty in the job market and the AI. And I think a lot of people are really just feeling that kind of pinch. So it'll be a very good show. It'll be an informative show. I have access to YouTube again, ladies and gentlemen. So if there's anybody who is watching on the YouTube feed, make sure you can ask your questions, because I will actually be able to see them and answer them. So that'll be fantastic in that regard. Now, before we get into the nook and cranny of the two attacks, I'm going to throw a little Catholic curveball at my council members here. I was very happy to see this today. It was dropped, 2 days ago, and it finally got released today. But from American Magazine, or whatever you want to call it, the American Journal, blah, blah, blah. So Trump and his administration have either threatened or barred Catholic Charities of the Rio Grande from receiving federal funds for 6 years. It needed to happen sooner. Now, unfortunately for your normie Catholic, they'll be like, well, Catholic Charities is all these great things. And, it says Catholic Charities in the title, so it's got to be good. And if you've done any type of deep dive into Catholic Charities, not just of the Rio Grande, but of Fort Worth, of Austin, of New Orleans, across these United States, they have been an entry point for federal funding of illegal movement of illegal immigrants. There are offices of immigrant resettling in most of these offices. And so, and remember, JD Vance, there was the big kerfuffle earlier in the year when they went back and forth with Catholic Charities and how Catholic Charities needed to be stripped. So there's the people that know about Catholic Charities, and then there's the rest of the public. And unfortunately, the rest of the public will look at this picture with the child in the Santa hat, and they're threatening Sister Norma with not helping the children's and the little ones right around Christmas. It's like painting him to be, Trump to be the Grinch, essentially. But I don't know if the thoughts will go Trad and Joey, your thoughts about this movement to bar these NGOs, because that's what Catholic Charities is. It's an NGO from accessing federal funds.
Yeah, you beat me to it, Rick. And I saw that story, and I was, again, looking at it for those initiated, right? We are the initiated, but for the uninitiated, seeing this headline and that tagline there, it may take you aback a little bit. But like you said, a lot of these Catholic, quote unquote, Catholic charities, they're just glorified NGOs. They wear the skin suit of Catholicism, right, to push modernism, to push liberalism, to push whatever civil rights or, pet agenda they want to have, that day on the masses, and they disguise, right, these good intentions with. Oh, well, we're a Catholic charity. We're a religious organization. We have the backing of the church and whatnot. And it's, well, not really. You look at you kind of do a deep dive into any of these quote unquote Catholic charities, which again are just glorified NGOs. You see that a lot of them are pushing pretty heinous stuff, pushing you know anti-church, pushing secularism, pushing modernism. A lot of this stuff is not Catholic in the slightest, but again, they're wearing that title of Catholic charity as a facade to push their global agenda. So again, I'm glad this one there's a couple other charities that they need to be touching on, in my opinion, that the Trump administration should be touching on. But no, I was glad to see this, and I think a lot of people who are in the know with regards to this kind of stuff, they're happy to see it. And for those who aren't, it's either you get it or you don't, sort of thing. And you can kind of explain it to people, but for most of us, they're going to just see that title and be taken aback. But yeah, I think this is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely a solid move by the Trump administration. I definitely applaud them for that. Again, if you do any sort of deep dive, so again, in the future, somebody finds this video, do a deep dive on the immigrants that are coming across the border, especially the children. And there are videos from undercover journalists who were tracking these children as they're being brought in across the border unescorted. They're loaded onto airplanes, and who knows where they go. Where are the children? We have no idea, And again, and like operator said here, is that these Catholic charities, quote unquote, are promoting things that are immoral and contrary to a Catholic teaching. Again, you have some in Africa that are pushing contraception that's out there. So these don't get don't get your mind get clouded by, oh, this is just a charity. This is not a charity. These are NGOs that are pushing progressive liberal agendas, and what they are doing is contrary to the church teachings on ethics, morals, everything.
Yeah, and it's interesting because once again, it's the weaponization of the Catholic Church by secular forces to push secular agendas. As you know, and Trad, you said it. There's Lutheran service charities. There's other ones that are supposedly religious that are they're run by people that are not of the denomination of the name of the board, the Catholic Charities included. And we see this especially in the immigration front, especially this time of year. especially in manger scenes where up in the Northeast you have, somebody put like ice was here and they had the entire thing empty. And then we don't have the video, but the Minneapolis police chief, I was raised Catholic and this is so mean what we're doing to migrants. I mean, Mary and Joseph were migrants. Like we hear this every stinking year about this time. Everybody who hates the Catholic Church, for 11 and a half months picks this 3.5 week period to all become Catholic scholars again, to once again preach to us the how we should operate within our faith. And these charity groups are another example of that, where yes, and it's tough because you see the Catholic Charities appeal at mass sometimes. Oh, we're, because it funds all these things. In the back of my head, I'm like, nah, it funds migrant groups. But I can't say that, and I can't stand up and be like, yeah, you're lying. But it's just this idea that the church, and it's a failure of the leadership of the church to stand up and say, do not. And anybody who knows me, and if anybody's heard the story, I had to change my name from the armed Catholic because my bishop would not give me the permission to use Catholic in the title. He was a very respectful. We had a nice discourse between me and my former bishop. He's now the Bishop of Galveston. It wasn't mean. He wasn't condescending. He just said, I understand what you're doing, but gun violence, stuff like that. And then you turn around and you see these organizations flaunting the name of the Catholic Church to push these things. And it's difficult for us to kind of sit back and see this, because I guess there's a little bit of good that's done, right? There's a little bit of good that Catholic Charities does, and we're supposed to say, well, that little bit good that Catholic Charities does, we're supposed to just turn a blind eye to the horrors of things that they are supporting. And people didn't like it when I said, hey, if you support Catholic Charities, you're supporting open borders. And if you're supporting open borders, you're supporting the abuse of women and children that are being brought up through that. People really didn't like that, guys, when I made that point, but it is true.
It's not difficult at all to to file for like a 501(c)(3) in this country and then just call your charity, oh, migrant Catholics for migrants, or Catholic X, or Catholic whatever, right? In whatever organization you want to form, and then push these liberal ideologies. What this is essentially doing, it's promoting and facilitating more migrants coming into the country. It's promoting the trafficking of women and children. And like Joey said, who knows where these individuals end up, right? We get them across the border, but once they're here, it's like, okay, how do we track these people? How do we know that the charity that got them into the country in the first place is doing their due diligence and getting these people the help they need, if they need it at all? But a lot of the time, poof, they're gone without a trace, and that's just trafficking. Plain and simple. That's what these migrants and that's what these NGOs and quote unquote Catholic charities are facilitating.
Yeah.
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 During the week, Rick, I don't know if you happened to see it or you, Tread. There was a video of one of the bishops confronting ICE guys outside a cathedral or outside one of the parishes. Who was that?
I didn't even see that. There's so much stuff that's been flooding my timeline this week. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, I saw it, and it was one of those things on X where you see it, and then when you go to click on it because you haven't used it in a while, like scrolls and it disappears. And like I could not for the life of me find it, but apparently there was one of the bishops confronted ICE agents and was like, "This is sacred ground." I was like, "Really? Like really? That you're going to throw that out there with everything that's going on in the church right now with your LGBT masses and all the scandals going on with the charities? Like you're really going to throw out there this is sacred ground? Like this is ridiculous."
I something similar to that. I guess when the deportation started ramping up earlier in the year, we saw priests try to go to the detention facilities, right? And they were going to the detention centers with the goal, or with the supposed goal, of administering sacraments, which in and of itself is a noble goal, right? But I saw a video of one, I believe it was a Catholic priest, don't know where or what detention facility he was at, but he was parading around. The Chaborum and the chalice and the Eucharist, right? And
Yeah.
with the guise of trying to administer to the illegals in the detention centers, but to use the sacrament, especially the Holy Eucharist, in such a performative and political way, right? It sort of defeats the whole purpose of it. And there are proper channels for you to do that through, right? There are proper avenues for you to go and administer sacraments to, the imprisoned, the sick, the needy, right? But to use our faith, to use the faith of the Catholic Church to promote a political point, like to score points and kind of make a mockery of it, it's disgusting. It's really revolting, and a lot of weak bishops and a lot of weak priests buy into the whole empathy thing with the, oh, they're just poor migrants, oh, they're the poor helpless needy people because there's a crying child on TV, now we have to get rid of all laws in our country. It's like, no, we don't have to do that. We can have empathy, of course, but understand that these individuals broke the law. These individuals came here illegally. These individuals, are going to get sent back. That's just how it goes. Now we're just upholding the law that we've been neglecting for decades at this point.
And really, the dirty secret, and I'm not trying to be offensive to any bishop out there or anything like that. It's the Hispanic hope of filling the pews, to backfill the pews of dwindling church attendance. And that's one of the things that has been on the minds of the bishops for a while, is that, oh, well, these immigrants come in, they're Catholic, and they will come to church, and they will be members of the faith and all these other things. And yeah, that's great. Obviously we want the universal church to practice, everybody to practice, but not at the expense of law and order, not at the expense of the actual laws of the country. And so there's I guess that might be what you were talking about, Joey, the Minnesota bishop recommending blessed salt to get rid of ICE agents. And it's like, this is just ridiculous at this point, people.
It kind of
Come
reads
on.
like a superstitious trope, doesn't it? It almost, and like, if
Yeah.
you're trying to subvert Catholicism, right, you try to make it as fantastical and whimsical as you can. That's what this sounds like to me. It sounds like it's like throwing salt over your shoulder, like that old trick to like get rid of evil. It's like, that's clearly just apocryphal, right? That's just a superstition. But if you're trying to subvert, actual Catholicism, yeah, you make light of it, you mock it, you denigrate it, you make it seem like, oh, it's just a silly old tradition or what have you. So that to me is just like, yeah, it's subversive on a whole nother level.
It is. And like you guys said, both of you said that it's just awful that instead of our bishops tending to their own flocks, they're getting political. And they're inserting themselves in a place that they shouldn't be. They really shouldn't be in this area, because it's a matter of federal law. It's a matter of federal law that this be done. And everybody kind of had a sigh of relief when Pope Leo the 14th said every nation has a right to enforce their borders. Now, of course, he said some other stuff after that, but at least he said that. So we have a white knight here is going to drop in, except they don't realize a lot of South American Hispanics have large Muslim converts. Yeah, that South America does have there's a lot of Muslim converts in South America, in Hispanic legions. You're right about that. So that's another thing. A, you're right about that, white knight, and B, what they don't realize is once the second generation, the firstborns of those Hispanic migrants become Americanized, and they stop going to church. So it's an awful cycle. So either way, so they're encouraging all this, and yet they're not getting those supposed benefits that they were really kind of hoping for. But yeah, that came out today, and a lot of support from people who are just like, yes, Catholic Charities is not a good organization. Catholic Charities should be banned from doing this because they are subverting the federal government. And no, the federal government is not the second coming of the Third Reich and all these other kinds of things that they want to say. And so that's just something we want to talk about. The two subjects we're going to talk about the one that is just, both of them are absolutely horrifying. The brown one, for lack of a better term, we'll talk about more of the incompetence of the state of Rhode Island when we get there. But this one, when it came out this weekend, that there was a mass casualty event in Australia, I think most of us guys at first just went, wait, there's a mass shooting in Australia? Because for one thing, gun grabbers have all been promoting Australia as the model of, well, if we just get rid of our guns like Australia, it will never happen again. And we'll talk about that in a little bit later, how their rhetoric has shifted. But folks, this is just an example of you are your own first responder. You are responsible for yourself and for your family, because these two guys had upwards of like 77 minutes, I believe, or 20 minutes, an extended period of time to literally walk around with shotguns and bolt action rifles and injure 60 odd people. It looks like 16 people are dead. And it's just, for people like us, for myself, Trad, and Joey, I'll speak for them on this one thing. It absolutely just, it cuts to our core as people who talk about being your own first responder, advocating for your right, your God-given right to self-defense, and watching these things. It's the worst case of I told you so. But I'll stop talking. I'm going to go Joey and then Trad on this order. Joey, your thoughts when you saw this whole thing just kind of explode onto the news cycle?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see it until after mass, and I got home and opened my phone and saw it, and immediately was greeted by the 9-minute video of somebody who just videotaped a quarter of this attack. And the whole time I was sitting there and I watched the whole thing, and I was like, imagine being these poor people going, where are my protectors? Where are the people that are here to defend me? Where are the people here to save my life? And what were they doing? They were hiding behind concrete walls or behind vehicles. Some of them were armed. Some of them weren't armed. The ones that were armed didn't do anything about it. And then they had the audacity to go out and even claim like, well, they had rifles and we had pistols. And, if any of you guys follow me on X, I made a tweet. I mean, what a bunch of patsies.
Yep.
What a bunch of patsies. I mean, I know majority of all the safety teams that I have helped set up, the guys are carrying pistols. And like I've always said in a few of our shows, is that if the day comes that ever happens, we know we're going to be outgunned. Because more than likely we're going to be going up against, an Armalite rifle, an AK, Kalashnikov. Those things have much higher velocities. They do much more damage. And they can go through multiple things and persons at one time. We know we're outgunned. We know that's going to happen. But the point is that we're going to try to do something anyways. And that's the whole point of this whole deal is, and it's just, I think really, if anything, that's what I was writing down. I was scrambling for notes here because I got here just a little bit late. It just goes to show. I think videos like this, again, social media and these events that are happening like this, it's an absolute tragedy. I'm not saying this as a net positive, but what we are seeing is because of social media, because of smartphones, you have people that are capturing these events on film, and they're putting them out on social media. And if anything, I think it's starting to wake people up and put them into the mindset like, wow, if you watch that entire video and put yourself in that position, like think about gunshots going off near you, bullets flying over your head. They do make sound. You can't hear them, and to be in that moment for like 9, 10, 12, 20 minutes while these guys are just rampaging. And they had bags. If you watch the video, they had bags of ammunition on the side, and they were just going, and these men, and it just goes to show they target and assault rifles. These guys were extremely proficient with a shotgun, I think, and a bolt action rifle. It just goes to show what training and proficiency, you can use any weapon effectively and do the damage that they did with just some basic training. And I did watch the video of.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Joey. I know you're on a roll, but also knowing that there's no resistance. Well.
Oh, and yeah, exactly. No, that's a great point, Rick, because again, they knew, like, they were standing there bold, loud, proud, representing their deal, and there was no fear. I mean, obviously, and again, coming from being a veteran, a lot of these guys have no fear anyway. Like they're ready to do it anyways. But
Yeah.
they were just confidently like they weren't like crouching for cover hardly. I think in one stretch of the video, the guy never even checked his six. Like he was completely unworried about. He was not worried about what was happening behind him. They knew they were going to have time. So I mean, again, it's just I think these things will help. Hopefully, I hope it will waken people up and get them to understand that nobody is coming to save you.
Yeah.
Excellent points there, Joey. And that video, yeah, I watched it. I mean, what clips were going around circulating at the time? I was, trying to gather information, watching different angles and whatnot, and the response time, the lapse of time from when the first shot rang out to when police finally arrived on scene or even began to make their presence known, it was at least 15, 20 minutes. I saw a tweet going around that they were waiting around 20 minutes of uninterrupted fire, basically, from the shooters, and like no response from police. And these people are, it's a large gathering of people, just chaos, running from the sounds of gunfire, people screaming, people yelling. You have people bleeding out, dying all around you, and it goes to show that, yeah, when seconds matter, the police are minutes away, right? And that's something that I've always said. Um, Trying to promote this. I mean, look at that. Yeah, from this footage here. I mean,
That Trad, what I'll just give a sec. The reason why people are highlighting it's a female police officer who is clinging to the car because she does not want to go where the gunshots are going. She is refusing to go in and do anything. She's being talked to by the male. He's like, you have to go now. So anyway, that's why I was playing that while you were speaking.
no, I saw that. Yeah, this was one of the clips that I saw, and tangent side note here: women should not be in any profession where there's a reasonable expectation of violence. Sorry, I'm not sorry. That's actually my opinion. I hold that wholeheartedly. If there's any reasonable expectation of violence in your profession, that should be a male-only profession. Because, like Joey said, this part of the job, this is the job that you signed up for. You are supposed to be protecting people. You're supposed to protect those who can't defend themselves, right? Because we've been told, oh, don't take the law into your own hands. Oh, don't be a vigilante. Okay, well, if we're going to outsource our protection to this government, right, to these state actors who are supposed to protect and serve, right? That's the whole motto, right? And they fail to do their job, well, innocent people suffer. Lots of people die. And this is what we saw. And Australia, I mean, Australia has been going down the tubes for a long time now, for multiple different reasons. But I mean, they've been pretty woke on guns for decades now. I mean, Australia, it's difficult to own and purchase firearms. You can't concealed carry at all. You can't carry a firearm with you in public, right? Um, and the application process to own one is very stringent. But I mean, you look at what these bad actors are capable of with something as simple as hunting shotgun and a bolt action rifle. I mean, dozens of people are dead, dozens more injured. This whole thing, it reminded me of Uvalde. Like one of the chat, White Knight, he said it perfectly. That response time reminded me of the Uvalde shooting, and it was just waiting around. You're hearing people be shot. You're hearing the gunshots go off. You're hearing people crying out, and nothing's happening to the shooters. They're bold. They're belligerent. They have no care in the world because they know that everything around them is a soft target. They go after these soft targets because they know they're going to have little to no resistance at all, and they can inflict as much damage as possible. So it was infuriating to watch when I first saw the clips going around. It was saddening, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, you need an Elijah Dickens. Where's an Elijah Dickens when you need one, right?
Yeah.
If you remember that, if the audience remembers
Yep.
that, the Greenwood, Indiana mall shooting. I mean, this guy, there was about to be a mass casualty event, but this good Samaritan who was carrying that day put the guy down before he could even inflict, more casualties than he already did. But
And this dude did it with Glock sights. He did it with Glock sights too, which was even more amazing.
yeah, I think he had a stock. It was like a Glock 34
Yep.
stock, bone stock, right? And he
Yep.
just from 40 yards away hit 8 of 8 shots. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
and people were like, well, if more guns in this situation would not have helped the Australians. I beg to differ. Actually, I strongly disagree with that because the cops with guns are useless, and we've seen what well armed, well trained citizens can do. with firearms. Case in point, Elijah Dickens. Case in point, the numerous other, lawful uses of gun defense that happen in our country, at least every single year. So, no, it's a tragedy. I pray, I grieve for the loss of life in Australia. Um, but again, this should be a wake up call. I hope and pray it is. It's a wake up call.
Yeah. Also, there's another example. All the way back here in Texas, we had one of the first real big events was the Austin, Texas, the shooting in the clock tower at University of Texas. And one part of that story that is not known is the reason why the casualties weren't higher is that back in the day, the good old boys, the actual farmers that went to Texas, they had their rifles in their truck and they grabbed them. And essentially what they did is they knew they didn't have enough range to actually get him because he was behind a concrete barrier. But what did they do? They just shot at the tower. And you know what that did? That kept him crouching while the police could actually figure something out. Now, I'm not saying, especially nowadays with liability and stuff like that, to do that. But the fact of the matter is, folks, like Joey was saying, this dude was not one of those, the dude who was using an open action bolt rifle, he's just click, 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 and he's going away. Anybody with even somebody with a 380 could have stopped, at least provided resistance to give other people a chance. And that's the thing that both of you guys are bringing up is that you need men who have made the decision, who have said, I will carry, and if something happens, I will step in. Now I'm the biggest one on this program. It's like, yeah, well, if if you don't have to, don't step in. This is one of those cases where all that stuff kind of goes out the window. Because if you're at a beach and these guys are laying fire all over the place, there is no safe place for you to get to. Especially with the patterns that they're doing. And the fact of the matter is, people need to take their own safety into account. They also, nobody had first aid kits on that with them. Nobody had any of those kinds of things that could have assisted with people who were wounded or people who were hurt. That it's just so it's an avoidable thing, guys. It really, to me, it just seems like it's such an avoidable thing by just allowing citizens to possess firearms. And of course, the pro gun people from Australia who are coping out of their mind because they were bragging for the last 15 years. Oh, we in Australia, we don't have mass shootings because we got, we put laws in place. We have people turn in their guns, and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, well, I'm sure you guys saw this, and I almost fell out of my chair every time I heard this argument. It could have been worse, guys, if they had an AR with a drum. And I'm like, 16 people are dead and 60 people are shot. Success? Like, that's a raging success in your book? Because every time you yell and you lecture at people like me, the first thing they say, Joey and Trad, is, guys, come on. If we can just save one life, would you give up your gun? If you could just save one life. No, I won't. And then 16 people die and they go, well, if 17, just so 17 people won't die, would you give up? It's like, no, you can't switch the goalposts on that. It's either you get rid of all the guns so nobody ever gets shot again, or you let people have firearms and you say, well, the society is supposedly polite enough that our citizens are smart enough and intelligent enough to exercise good judgment that they would be able, in the event that the police turn into this right here. And unfortunately, these two women, whatever they were doing, they have become the symbol of the absolute failure of the police there. There was a police station within a 4-minute walk of the beach. And you listen to people who are interviewed, they're going, where are the police? There was an interview. I don't know if you guys saw this. I should have gotten it. One of the women, there was a couple and they were crouching down, and there was a cop that was injured, either mortally or not. And the woman reached for the cop's gun because it was because he was down. She's like, nope, I'm going to take this gun and I'm going to try and defend myself. Other cops grabbed her and pulled her away from the gun while they were armed. They said, no, we can't do that. And she's like, well, you have guns, you shoot them. And it's just like, every gun control sounds amazing theoretically, just like the Care Bears sound amazing theoretically. But it doesn't exist in a fallen world. It just doesn't. Okay. And St. Augustine, I have the quote and I forget it. What good would it if, good people are overcome by bad? Is essentially, it's from City of God, City of Man. And I'm butchering the line. I'll find it later. But good people have been just debilitated to the point that we guys in Western civilization, we have to stand back. We have to stand back and watch evil murder 16 people, ruin the lives of 59 other people. You want us to do that? It should boil the blood of every man that has a testosterone level that's at least acceptable. I'm not even talking about high T, just acceptable testosterone levels. You should be like, no, give me a blanking gun and I'll go shoot them. If you guys aren't going to do it, if you guys aren't going to protect the public, I'll do it. And it's just, as you can tell, my blood's boiling because it's just these people try to say, well, it worked because only 16 people died. That's not a metric you want to be bragging about. But yet that's the cause they'll use to push, and they're going to do it more. They're going to gun control harder in Australia. And then what happens when it's cars or when it's propane tanks or when it's anything else that we've seen in the past? I don't know. Somebody jump in because I'm just ranting out my face right now. Somebody get
No, Rick, I may make you a little madder here, but did you also see that, even the good Samaritans that were stepping in, right, to help, because one of the Samaritans, I heard a story, stepped in and was able to disarm one of the gunmen. I mean, the cops shot him twice. They shot the good Samaritan who disarmed, the shooter, not the shooter. If okay, the pitiful response is one thing, right? The cowardly female cops, whatever, that's another thing. The fact that you're now, even if you're going to shoot anybody at all, don't shoot the good Samaritan who's doing your job for you and disarming the shooter when you're too cowardly and afraid to do your job that you signed up for. Right? It's just failure after failure after failure. And these state actors, these police officers, whatever, they're given this badge, they're given this authority, but they don't know. They don't have the right intestinal fortitude, right? They don't have the backbone, the will, to say, look, I may be outgunned here. Look, lives are on the line. I need to do my job. I need to step up and actually protect innocent people who are dying, who are being slaughtered, and that was what boiled my blood, of all the stories. This whole thing is just it's maddening. But to hear the fact that of all the people they could shoot, not the terrorists, not the mass shooters, the good Samaritan who did your job for you, you shot him twice instead. Like it's just, and it's maddening. I tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely so. And I mean, and the attempted cover up after the shooting was over, of, oh, that one good Samaritan, he was one of them, he was another one of them, and that backfired in their face. Again, just the whole, and again, if that same thing would have happened here, it'd been like, look, you lost 13 people, look what happened, but oh, we only lost 13 people, it's the hypocrisy in this whole entire whatever this is just, it's ridiculous. And of course, the gun control parents got a hold of that after what happened at Brown. Was like, oh look, Tim Waltz, Ilhan Omar or whichever one of the squad was like, we're going to pass more gun control. We're going to ban assault weapons, and it's just, it's not going to make you safer. Now you have these particular, religious people that are pushing for gun control now. They want to disarm us. That's what they want. They want to disarm us so that they can facilitate their takeover of us at some point in the future. And again, this is a hill that every American should be willing to die on, and that is the right to bear arms. And it shall be infringed. It shall not be infringed upon. Bring back, full auto Fridays. That there was a time not long ago where you could do that. You could purchase a fully automatic firearm and own one, with no problem. And again, and I'm fortunate enough to remember the times where I had family members that had gun racks in the back of their trucks, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever, And we need to bring those days back, And again, this is a hill we have to be willing to die on. Do not give up your guns, and they are coming for them. Don't think that they're not.
Yeah, and I mean, you gave us a perfect segue into the next story, which it affects me because that's my home state of the state of Rhode Island, and it's this absolute terrible story about a shooting that took place at Brown University. Brown University is one of the Ivies, one of the more expensive, probably I think one of the most expensive Ivies out there. And what happened is on a Saturday night, a gunman walked into one of these buildings at Brown and shot two students and then just walked out. And they just walked out of Brown University to the point where it has been 6 days, 5 days. And if you people are watching from afar and you're watching the press conferences that are happening in Rhode Island and you're saying to yourself, what is going on there? You have to understand that Rhode Island is without a doubt. You think, the Texans here, we all joke about how incompetent Texas government is. It is incompetent to a degree. It literally looks like the Roman Republic compared to how the state of Rhode Island is run. The press conferences you see is a microcosm of the fact that it's a bunch of dumb idiots who are so high on democratic political policies that they have no way of confronting this evil in a rational way. Because the fact of the matter is, the young woman who was shot, and I don't have her name, was she was the vice president.
Ella Cook.
She was the vice president of the Republic, the only Republican club on campus, right? She was an outspoken conservative. So, ladies and gentlemen, that marks two conservatives. I'm throwing Charlie Kirk here, who have been murdered on college campuses within 4 months. And I have it over here. I think I have it around here somewhere. They're not the only conservative that was targeted this week. We actually had another one, as I am so well prepared here, at MIT. I don't know if you all found this, but guess what? At MIT, an MIT professor was shot and killed in his home. And people are like, I think that guy was pretty conservative. But for the fact of the matter is, even if he's not, there is outspoken, uncontrolled violence that is taking place on college campuses right now. And the fact is, this guy or girl, we don't know who it is because the state of Rhode Island, is releasing footage that would be great in the year 1995. Like, we can get, I don't believe that, but you can supposedly get better pictures from the moon than you can from Rhode Island, from the state of Rhode Island and Brown University, which supposedly has 800 cameras on campus. But this is just one of those things. And Joey brought it up. They're going to bring up gun control. Oh, well, guess what, guys? They're going to bring up gun control. Here's a nice little stat for you. This is from the Giffords Law Center. Rhode Island has an A- score when it comes to them. Do you want to know why? This is what they do. Universal background check, partial gun owner licensing, red flag laws, domestic violence laws, waiting periods. You cannot get a concealed carry. You cannot open carry. Child actions, community violence with independent, lost firearm, large capacity magazine ban, minimum age, like every single gun law you could think of or dream of, the state of Rhode Island has done. And I didn't show it because it's on the wrong screen. But give me a second. I was so happy to have it brought up. But this is the state of Rhode Island Gifford Law Score. You can find this. They're proud of it. This is what they do well. So every single thing you could think of. Brown University is a gun-free campus. And yet somebody was able to walk in and execute a campus Republican. So, Trad, Joey, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, her name, I was slipping you, but Ella Cook, right? She
Yes.
was the vice
Thank you.
president of the only conservative student group on campus. The shooter, it's on day 5 of the manhunt. Still have not found the shooter as of today. He goes into this small group, kills 2 students, her being one of them, and vanishes without a trace. Right, in a state that is extremely restrictive of gun rights and gun ownership, on a campus that doesn't allow students to carry firearms, so it's a gun-free zone. It's another soft target, right? And this seems, at least from my perspective and from what I've seen, another politically motivated killing, right? In the same vein as Charlie Kirk, in the same vein as perhaps that MIT professor, right? And if for the audience listening, if you're of a more conservative persuasion, right? If you consider yourself more right wing, I want you to know that you're not liked. Okay, to put it lightly, right? I'm not trying to get Rick in trouble on YouTube here, but like you
Doesn't
guys
matter,
need to
man. Go
be.
for it.
Yeah, you should be training. You should be prepared because you're hated, right? We know this.
Yep.
We've been talking about this on the show for weeks and weeks now, right? Things are going to get worse. I think these tragedies that we've seen over the past few months, they're just sparks that are going to ignite a larger fire. I think they're just going to be they're starting off small here, and eventually it's gonna explode. I think personally, and so if you find yourself in a situation where you are the lone voice, if you are the minority, and you're surrounded by people who don't like you, who hate you, who don't want you to exist, and see your worldview as utterly repugnant, maybe get out of there.
Hmm.
That would be my 2 cents. That'd be my advice to you because it's such a tragedy that this young woman had her whole life ahead of her. By all accounts, seemed to be a genuine human being. Was gunned down by, again, it looks like from reports that I've seen, seems to be another student, but a progressive activist on campus. The Brown University is scrubbing all
Yeah.
of the records of this student, of this alleged shooter. Right? Again, he hasn't been found yet. So I'm not trying to make any allegations, but it's very odd that they seem to be doing that now, right? 5 days after the fact, and with all the CCTV footage we supposedly have of every angle on campus, we weren't able to get any of this shooter. So it's something that you have to be aware of. You have to recognize the dangers of the world that we face because things are going to come to a head and things are getting worse. Things have been getting worse. And I hate to be such a doomer and a downer, during this joyous season of Advent leading up to Christmas, but I mean, Christ is the light of the world, but the world is very dark. It is a very dark place. And by the grace of God, we have that light in Christ, but you have to be prepared. You can't just be, a sheep, right? That doesn't do anything. You have to be as sly as serpents and as innocent as doves. So you have to be prepared at all times for situations like this and for situations like the Bondi Beach one.
Yeah, I mean, I only got really 4 words. I mean, solidarity and civil disobedience. I mean, I'll say it. I'm not afraid to say it. I am a big proponent of civil disobedience. I don't like gun-free zones. I don't. I will avoid them if at all possible. But I don't see those signs. I will not be told where and when I can protect my family by whatever means necessary to protect my family. I'm not afraid to say it. It is what it is, but I'm not going to allow my family to become innocent victims of this. And it seems like I think you're onto something there, Trad. It seems like they're poking more and more at us. It's almost as if kind of like why haven't you responded yet? Like why hasn't the right done something equally bad going the other way to foment this? I think you're right. We are headed to some sort of partial discharge of all the tension in this country, whether it's partial or it's a full blown. That remains to be seen. But yeah, I think that's kind of, it seems like that's what the left is doing. That's kind of the sense that I'm kind of getting about it. I don't know about you guys, but it seems like they're trying to really nudge us to get something popped off. And again, I mean, why? What's the aims? Again, ultimately, they want to take your guns, but at the same time, they like control. They like to lock stuff down, and they could be headed towards that. And then hey, we're just going to come get your guns, because enough is enough. I don't know where this is headed, but it does seem like we are being just poked and prodded. You can only poke a bear so many times before he's going to attack you, and it seems like that's kind of what they're going for, in my opinion.
I think I
So
agree with that. I think, and sorry to cut you off, Rick, but
no,
I
go.
jump in here real quick.
Yeah.
I think the left is far more willing to do violence, but the right is far more capable. I think that's a very key distinction here. I think we all know that in our heart of hearts. Not to not to be larpy, not to be anything like this. We hear this online jargon, but no, I mean the right wing in this country, we're the vast majority of gun owners. We're the vast majority of people who engage in this kind of activity, this hobby of ours. We train, we prep, we like to protect ourselves, our families, our property, and we believe in the ideals of this country. And we believe that you know every person has dignity before God, and we each have our own rights. But the left seems to be wanting to push that notion further and further every single day. With each of these tragedies, they seem to be like Joy was saying, poking the bear. They're trying to get a lie out of us. For what end? I don't know. I really don't know. And I've said this before. Nobody wants violence. We don't want violence. I pray that there's peace. I pray that, we can have that peace. But you know what? That doesn't mean I'm just going to lay my arms down. That doesn't mean I'm going to sheath my sword and not train and not prepare, right? And go into situations, la di da di da, with my head, locked in one view. No, I'm going to keep my head on the swivel. I'm going to prepare myself. I'm going to make sure that my family is taken care of. Because if an event like that happens, I'm at least ready, right? And who knows what the end game here is, though. But I think things are going to come to a head sooner rather than later, and you have to be ready for it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I mean, again, to go with the theme of our show here on the council is avoid. Right now we're in the middle of the Christmas season. People are out shopping. You need to do your best to avoid the prime shopping hours. Know when to shop. Do your best to avoid those prime time hours, those prime time locations. I mean, you can do a quick Google search through AI or whatever and look at the least busy times and plan your trips around those. But again, I can't tell you. I maybe gone to a shopping mall, like the big mall here in Frisco. I've probably been there. I can count on one time how many times I've been there, like in the past 5 years. I just don't like to go to those places. I avoid it if at all possible. But if you do have to go, just be wise about where you're going. Get in, get out. Don't loiter. Don't just window shop. You're putting yourself into a precarious situation. Be mindful of what you're wearing. If you're a veteran, don't wear veteran gear. You'll paint a target right on your back. Try not to carry tactical gear. I always get kind of frustrated because my wife has this diaper bag. It's a backpack, and it's always sliding off of me. I'm just like, man, I want one of those more cool looking dad bags, whenever I have the baby with me, because me and him are out frequently at doctor's appointments and stuff. But at the same time, I kind of like that, I have this kind of foo-foo looking diaper bag on me because nobody knows exactly what's in it,
Yeah, no, the gray man. You're the gray baby man.
Yeah, I do that with a fanny pack. Nobody expects the guy with the fanny pack to be packing because it's like, oh, he has a fanny pack on. He's harmless. No, you don't realize I'm packing here. So
fanny pack of freedom. I call it that for a reason. It helps out as much as possible. A couple points. The first one is the failure of the Trump DOJ to act swiftly after Charlie Kirk and to sit on the sidelines now and not act swiftly is going to cause the right to get even more frustrated because we put our faith in law and law and order seems to be letting us down. Two, if you don't like the situation in these blue states, folks, you on a public campus in the state of Texas, you can carry a firearm. You can have 18-year-olds can get an LTC and carry a firearm. How can they do that, Rick? Well, they can't purchase one, but if there's a gun that's in the house by their parents, and they get the background check and they pass the proficiency and they get the written, they can carry with an LTC in the state of Texas, and they can carry on public campuses. Now, there are certain parts of the campus that if they like the dorms or something like that, they have to put up a sign, but they can't blanket say no to the entire campus. So there are solutions in that regard. Secondly, I think if conservatives really had a backbone, every single conservative parent would pull their kid out of Brown and make them go do online school somewhere else. Well, I've always wanted to go to Brown. No, you're not going. You are not stepping foot on that campus ever again. We'll get you into an online program and you can get your degree that way. Your life is way too important for me to put you back on a campus that clearly promotes the agenda of whoever this person that committed this targeted attack shares the same political leanings, and this will get me in trouble. They share the same political leanings as the administration. That has to be said because the administration is bending over backwards. These are supposed to be our brightest thinkers, the Ivy Leagues. And this college president sounds like she should be in a Pauly Shore movie because she doesn't have an idea. She can't put together two sentences. The police chief, he doesn't know what's going on. The attorney general sounds like he got his law degree online. I know I just promoted online, but he sounds like he's got his at the bargain bin of the online school. It's a total mess. Every parent worth their salt says, no, I'm pulling you out and we'll transfer. You can go to a different college and you can get your courses. Because guess what, folks? You can get an entire bachelor's degree online now. You do not have to step foot on a college campus. If you're desperate to get your kid a degree, Liberty University is a great university to get your degree online. Have them transfer there. It's not as prestigious. Well, you'll be alive. I don't care if it's prestigious at this point. All right. Brown University does not deserve your money. It does not deserve your children's lives. That's my biggest point. And every conservative parent should pull their kid out of every public college at this point. Between
Yeah.
Utah and this, your kid should not be on a college campus if they're even remotely Republican. Well, we're going to give up the colleges. The colleges are gone, bro. They're gone. Let the
Academia
ship
has been gone
burn.
for years,
So you're not
decades.
going to
Yeah,
save them.
no, exactly. Academia has been taken over by leftist ideology for decades at this point. I mean, and now it's only coming to a head now because prominent conservative thinkers, prominent conservative voices on these campuses are literally being targeted. This isn't like, oh, the leftists, it's just violent rhetoric. No, they are actually targeting you. They're looking for you, and they're finding you and they're killing you. Okay, this isn't a game anymore, right? At this point, you have to wonder if like these universities are complicit, right? Because they kind of have to be. I mean, allowing this rhetoric, this violent rhetoric, these quite frankly insane people to be roaming around the campus. It's like if you put your child in that situation, you're kind of culpable as well, right? I don't see how you can avoid that, and I 100% agree with Rick there.
Yeah, there's actually. I'm glad you said that, Trev, because there is uh, precedence in case law about if there is reasonable, if it can be proved beyond a reasonable doubt that there is some sort of ongoing threat somewhere, alibi a church or in a college or wherever, um, they can be held liable because if there are many acts of violence, they need to be able to provide security for that. So yes, there is precedence for that in law. So that's something that obviously could be looked at as well. And at the same time, like you said, these are targeted assassinations. Let's just call them what it is. These are targeted assassinations. That you are being assassinated because of your ideology, your religious beliefs, whatever. But you are being targeted and you are being assassinated. And again, here we are, another one on a college campus. How many more are going to happen? I don't know, but I do know that you need to pull your kids out of these state-run institutions because, I mean, one, you're probably going to lose a soul. You have a very good chance of losing that soul being exposed to that garbage. And number two, I mean, it's just a hotbed of leftist ideologues who are just absolute hell bent on doing whatever's necessary to bring down this country and drag as many people down with them as they can.
Yeah, we said it kind of jokingly after Charlie, right? Well, not jokingly, but morbidly, I would say. And after Charlie's death, we were saying, well, if they'll kill Charlie, they'll kill us all because Charlie was a moderate. I mean, let's be real. Charlie he wasn't this dissident right winger. He wasn't an anti-Semite like they like to paint him as. And I'm certainly sure that this young woman here, Ella Cook, was not some far right radical extremist. I think she was just she was 19 years old. I doubt her worldview was even fully formed, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure she was young, just getting into this conservative space. Maybe she had Republican parents who were very establishment types, but you would not consider these individuals like Charlie, like Ella, like all these other people who've been killed and targeted. You wouldn't consider them to be moderates. But we said after Charlie's death, if they'll go after Charlie, they'll come after all of us. Because who are we? Like, I'm far more radical than Charlie is. I'm sure I can speak for both of you. I'm pretty sure we're far more radical than Charlie was on a lot of issues, right? And they killed him. They killed this girl, and it's no longer a rhetoric. Now it's real. It wasn't like a facetious joke. No, if they kill Charlie, they will kill all of us, and that's something that's very real.
So, Trad, I know you said you had a heart out. If you want to just wrap up and give us your good evenings and goodbyes, we'll let you go.
No, of course, man. Thank you guys for having me on again this week. In light of all these tragedies, I'm still trying to be hopeful for this Advent season. Just trying to get things ready. Going to be doing some traveling for the Christmas season, not holiday. Excuse me. Um, But no, I just want to say to the audience, be sure you're prepared. Make sure that you're getting the training done that you need to do to be proficient for your family, for yourselves, for your communities. And these guys, these gentlemen here, they're fantastic world, avenues of knowledge here. Joey and Rick, they're very well informed about a lot of these topics, and I consider them my brothers. So listen to these guys, and hope the council has a good night.
God bless
Have a
you.
good
We're
one,
not going to
brother.
have a show
God
next
bless
week.
you.
So Merry Christmas, bud.
Merry Christmas. Take care.
Bye. Now, I know what I said earlier might get some people upset when you're like, "Oh, Rick, you're saying that the administration is culpable for the death of this woman," and you're saying, "Listen, I don't want to say these things." And I would love to be proven wrong, Joey, by having an administration come out and say, this is an absolute tragedy. We are going to use everything at our disposal to find this person and show that you cannot do these things on our campus. These campuses should be places of open knowledge where kids can express themselves. I want Brown University to be able to come out and do this. I don't have a lot of hope seeing what they're doing right now. And so I may sound radical in my response, but let me ask you as a parent, if you're watching this for the first time and you think I'm trying to be bombastic, if your child was on that campus, what is your reaction going to be? I don't have kids. I can't give you my reaction. I can only stand from afar. But you as a parent, you have to say, what is Brown University going to do to protect your most precious gift in the world? What are they doing to stop that? And if they're not doing everything in their power to do so, I mean, Boston, they found the guy in like 48 hours. They found both of them. So what is Rhode Island doing that they can't mimic that? And what is the FBI doing? There's a lot of questions here. And my anger comes from the fact that students at colleges should not have to fear. And it's not because of gun violence and all these other stupid things people want to say, but the fact that there is this tension, there is this feeling going around now, Joey, and I am saddened for kids that this should be the a little bit of tension, do their finals, and then they get to go home, and then they get to have Christmas with their families. She's not going to have Christmas with her family, and nobody in this union of states should ever have to worry about that. They just shouldn't.
Yeah, and I can tell you this. I mean, I have a young daughter who's in our local. We have a right up the street from our home. We have a local community college that she's going to. And she's doing some. She has a little photography business that she has, and she wants to learn how to run it until she gets married, and then she'll all she wants to do is just have kids. So luckily, one of the first things we did when we went there is I checked out the police presence, and thankfully they have a large police presence on that campus, and which I'm thankful for. But again, it doesn't mean that she's going to be safe, and my daughter is very bold in her faith. She's not afraid to speak out. She's not afraid to call things what they are, and so it does make me a little nervous being a parent of a college student. It does make me a little bit nervous that she is there. But at the same time, they do have a good presence there on that campus. And, I've helped my daughter, gone through scenarios with my daughter and what to do and how to do it and how to take, action and stuff like that. So, I'm hopeful, that again, thankfully being here in Texas, it's kind of it can go both ways, depending on where you're at. But luckily this campus is a pretty safe campus. There are police everywhere, from the times that I visited the campus. So, and it goes back to the, this is how progressivism works. It's kind of like, they hide, they make it look like incompetence, but it really isn't. Like they just want to keep it's an excuse. It looks like incompetence. Well, we got to progressive harder, just like Australia. We got to progressive harder because we're not progressiving enough, and it's just like it looks like incompetence, but it's almost like it's incompetence. It's designed that way to be incompetence in order to keep going to the left, further to the left. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's not. Maybe they are just incompetent boobs. I don't know, but it just seems like these people like I don't know. That's kind of the sense I get, that it's incompetence. It's just kind of I don't know, masquerading as incompetence. These people know what the deal is, but they know what the end goal is.
Yeah, because you hear it from all of them. We need to make common sense gun laws. I just showed you every common sense gun law that you could come up with. Rhode Island already has, and it did nothing. And it did nothing. And that's the problem, is that, in a high trust society, yeah, you could talk about gun laws, but I don't think right now, as we are currently constituted with the tensions between both sides, we're not a high trust society. And we're seeing that people are leaning more and more towards political violence, and nobody will ever promote political violence in any way, shape, or form, because that's why we have our system of republicanism to figure these things out. We're never supposed to get to a violent nature. So it's a terrible situation all around, especially this close to the glorious season of Christmas and the post Christmas Day, and then the celebration of Christmas.
Absolutely.
And there's really no way to transition it, folks. It's time to it's time for Joey's deals of the week. So let's
deals of the week. Yeah, so we'll let's go with the BOGO sale on the Ballistic Advantage. We'll just go right down the line.
Yep.
Yeah, so this week, Ballistic Advantage, it's on Borelli.com. They have a BOGO. So basically, you're getting half off the normal price of these of the Ballistic Advantage. And again, we've talked about these barrels on the show before. They are fantastic barrels. I have one on one of my rifles. The BOGO is going to apply to the 5.56 and the 300 Blackout. So again, great deal. It's a BOGO deal. So definitely take advantage of that one. Second one is going to be My Patriot Supply. You get that big old kit right there. That entire kit, and there's a lot in there. So this kit is usually $844.64. It's now on sale for $4.99 and 95 centavos. You get 9 items in here. You get 9 items in this kit. You get a 4-week food supply that's over 2,000 calories a day. You get an Instafire Inferno Pro outdoor biomass stove. You get an Alexa Pure Pro water filtration system, a 2-gallon bucket emergency fire starter, again by Instafire. You get a wireless solar solar power bank charger, and a 20 LED light deal. You get a folding cutlery tool by Ready Hour. You get a stainless steel mess cooking kit, a 5-piece set. You get a stainless steel drinking cup and 160 waterproof matches. Yeah, that's a great deal, man. That's you're getting a whole lot of bang for your buck with that one.
You're gonna make a lot of preppers mad, because a lot of preppers, this is taking like months for them to do this, and you're gonna do it in like one trip.
Yeah, you can do this in one trip, and then I forgot about the last one. Sorry, it was hanging at the bottom of the page. I was like, I know I got a third one in there. I always have 3 for you guys. The last one is the Springfield Armory, the Kuna.
Ooh, where's that? Do you know?
That's going to be on Borelli as well. That's going to be on the Borelli website as well.
So the Kuna, I was looking at that the other day. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet little deal. I've watched a lot of the gun tubers reviews on them, and they talk very highly of them. So definitely you get that deal for, let's see, it's usually $11.49. You're getting it for $9.99. I think Borelli may have free shipping on that as well. But this is going to be a brace with a 6-inch barrel, and you get 2 30-round magazines, and that's going to be in the black color. Again, and if I'm not mistaken, Rick, that's the delayed roller back, right?
Yeah. I just watched James Reeves did a review on it from TFB. He said it was his number one gun of 2025 because of how compact it is. The magazines, I think, are like $25 for a 30-round magazine. You can fold it. It's got a small footprint. You can throw it in your diaper bag and you wouldn't even know it's there. So it's like these kind of guns, the small, I'm always a big fan of pistol caliber carbines. Always been a big fan of them. Always been, I think they're a nice compromise. I know a lot of the other serious gun guys are like, they don't have the velocity or whatever, but in a pinch, 30 rounds of 9mm is fantastic.
Yeah, so you get one of those with like 2 extra mags on top of the mag you already got in it. That's you got a lot. You got a little bit of firepower there to at least lay some suppressive fire so you can get out of dodge if you need to. You need to do a tactical retreat. You could do that. You could get that's 91 rounds with your +1. If you're in let's say a very crowded place in the Christmas season out doing some shopping and you needed to get your family out of there before you go back and maybe trying to help out, you're going to have some suppressive fire with that to hopefully get your family out of there. And again, like you said, these are great small footprints. I mean, you can conceal these super easy everybody nowadays, you go anywhere, everybody has backpacks. Everybody has backpacks. So, I mean, if you can get one of these folding pistol caliber carbines, but hey, that we talked about that 10 millimeter a couple of weeks ago. Seriously, hope I get one of those for Christmas. I hope one of those find its way under the tree, you know. But if not, I'm gonna go buy it anyways. So it's coming underneath my roof one way or the other. But again, you know, these are great tools to have in your arsenal. You want to have a variety of tools. So, you know, it's just like any good mechanic, you know, depending on where he's going, he's going to have a set amount of tools with him to get any possible, work done on a vehicle or whatever. It's the same thing whenever you're out in town. You want to have, you know, tools of the trade, and tools of the trade are going to vary, you know, having a knife, having the right setup, and there's again, with the way they build vehicles now, you can conceal one of these in your middle console if you have a larger middle console. There's so many. These are very versatile guns, and I would definitely take advantage of them. And again, with the roller back, the delayed roller back is cycling on it. I mean, those are really great recoil on those guns, and it's a 9 millimeter in this case. So I mean, you're going to get a really light shooting gun and a lot of capacity, which again, capacity is everything in a gunfight.
I also am a big fan of people who are recoil sensitive. These are great home defense options. They're small, so if you do have to, I'm not a big proponent of clearing a house, but if you got babies in your house, you got to do what you got to do. It's small enough to maneuver around corners, and you can put a light on it. There's a lot of good applications for something like this, and I absolutely I'm in agreement. I think it's a very versatile firearm. And if you have the ability, if you're looking for a good home defense weapon or just a good gun that you could flex out to do multiple jobs, and this is it for you right here, something like this. So definitely,
this is a good way to introduce your wives, your daughters, your young kids into these types of weapons. To again, like you said, because there are kids that are just recoil. There's kids and there's women that are recoil sensitive. The stigmatization has happened between by the Armalite rifle, by the secular media, by the progressive media out there. It gets people intimidated, until they try it. And, so getting something like this is a great way to softly introduce them into firearms. And I have seen many weapons instructors out on YouTube and the gun tubes that have been like, this is the perfect way to introduce children or especially women into the firearm area of self-defense, because it's very gentle. They're very light shooting. It's easily managed recoil. And so everybody needs to be trained. Everybody needs to know how to use a firearm. And this is a great introduction to doing it.
And the reason, just one last thing, and I know Joey will agree, is that the reason we say that, folks, is handguns. Everybody goes to handguns because that's what popular media is. Something like this is going to be much easier for anybody to shoot because you're going to have 4 points of contact as opposed to one, right? With a handgun, your only point of contact is your hand, and that's it. You have 1, 2, then you have the cheek. Like there's multiple points of contact, so you can really get in on that firearm and get a good grip, like Joey was saying. So these, big fan of the pistol caliber carbines. Springfield, I mean, their guns are made by like the Croatian military institute. That's pretty much who's making them, and then Springfield just kind of like stamps their name on it, so it's a high quality firearm. You're getting a good gun out of that. So there you go, folks. Last minute Christmas shopping. There you go. Follow Joey's leads and you'll have a wonderful Christmas. So that is it for the Council of St. Michael. Obviously, next week's Christmas Eve, we are not going to have a show Christmas Eve. We'll talk amongst the council the week after that, because Wednesday, then the next Wednesday after that's New Year's Eve. We'll talk amongst the council and see if there's an opportunity. Possibly, I'm not going to put too much of an odds on it, so we may be taking a 2-week break. No matter what, stay tuned. Follow Joey on X, follow myself on X, Trad on X, Catholic Preppers United on X. We'll let you guys know. Whatever happens, we hope you have a Merry Christmas and a wonderful beginning of your next year if we don't see you guys then. God bless, and Viva Cristo Rey.
Viva Cristo Rey.